Welcome to Sleepy Tales. My name is Mateus, and before we begin today's story, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to our channel and leave a comment below saying, "I'll sleep well tonight." Now, sit back, relax, and let's dive into tonight's tale. As the leaves began to change colors and the air grew cooler, Sarah found herself in a new city, starting a new chapter in her life. After a painful breakup with her ex-boyfriend, she needed a fresh start and decided to move to a small, quaint town in the countryside. On her first day in town, Sarah decided to explore and stumbled upon a cozy cafe. As she entered, she noticed a man sitting at a table in the corner, strumming a guitar and humming a soft melody. He had dark hair and piercing blue eyes, and there was something mysterious and alluring about him. Sarah ordered a coffee and sat at a nearby table, stealing glances at the mysterious man. After a few minutes, he looked up and caught her eye, giving her a small smile. Sarah felt her heart flutter and blushed, quickly looking away. But fate had other plans. As she was leaving the cafe, Sarah accidentally dropped her phone, and the mysterious man rushed over to help her pick it up. "I'm sorry about that," she said, feeling embarrassed. "I'm Sarah." The man smiled warmly. "I'm Daniel. It's a pleasure to meet you, Sarah." From that moment on, Sarah couldn't get Daniel out of her mind. She found herself going back to the cafe every day, hoping to run into him again. And every time she saw him, her heart raced and her palms grew sweaty. One day, as Sarah was sipping her coffee and reading a book, Daniel approached her table. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, gesturing to the empty chair. Sarah felt her cheeks flush with excitement. "Of course not. Please, sit." They chatted for hours, discussing their favorite books, music, and movies. Sarah found herself opening up to Daniel in a way she never had with anyone before. There was something about him that made her feel safe and understood. As the cafe started to close, Daniel stood up to leave. "I had a wonderful time, Sarah. Would you like to do this again sometime?" Sarah nodded eagerly. "I would love that." As she walked home that night, Sarah couldn't stop thinking about Daniel. There was a spark between them, she was sure of it. But there was also something mysterious and elusive about him that made her wonder if he was hiding something. Little did Sarah know, Daniel was indeed hiding something. Something that would change her life forever. As Sarah and Daniel continued to see each other, their relationship grew deeper and more intense. They spent their days exploring the town, going on picnics in the park, and taking long walks through the countryside. Sarah felt happier than she had in a long time, and she knew that Daniel was the reason for it. But as their relationship progressed, Sarah began to notice some strange things about Daniel. He would disappear for hours at a time without explanation, and he was always hesitant to talk about his past. Sarah tried not to let it bother her, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something he wasn't telling her. One night, as they were sitting by the river, Sarah finally mustered up the courage to ask, "Daniel, I've been meaning to ask you something. You're so mysterious, and I feel like there's so much I don't know about you. What are you hiding?" Daniel looked at her with a pained expression. "Sarah, there are some things that I can't tell you. Things that would put you in danger." Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. "What do you mean? What kind of danger?" Daniel hesitated before answering. "I can't say much, but let's just say that I've been running from my past for a long time. There are people out there who want to hurt me, and I don't want to put you in the crossfire." Sarah was stunned. She had never imagined that Daniel's past could be so dangerous. But despite the fear and uncertainty, she knew that she loved him and wanted to stand by his side no matter what. Over the next few weeks, Sarah and Daniel's relationship deepened even further. They shared secrets and dreams, hopes and fears, and Sarah felt like she had found her soulmate. But she still couldn't shake the feeling that there was something dark and dangerous lurking in Daniel's past. One night, As they were lying in bed together, Daniel whispered in her ear, "Sarah, I have to tell you something. Something that I've been keeping from you." Sarah sat up, feeling a knot form in her stomach. "What is it?" Daniel took a deep breath. "I wasn't always a musician. Before I met you, I was involved in some questionable things. Things that I'm not proud of." Sarah felt her heart racing. "What kind of things?" Daniel hesitated before answering. "I used to work for a gang. I did some things that I'm not proud of. But I got out, Sarah. I got out and I've been trying to start a new life ever since." Sarah felt like the world was spinning. She had never imagined that the man she loved could have such a dark past. But despite the shock and the fear, she knew that she had to stand by him. She took his hand and looked into his eyes. "I don't care about your past, Daniel. I love you for who you are now, and I want to be with you no matter what." Daniel pulled her into a tight embrace, tears streaming down his face. "Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for understanding." As they held each other, Sarah felt like they could conquer anything together. But little did she know, their troubles were far from over. The danger that Daniel had been running from was about to catch up with them, and their lives would never be the same. A few days after Daniel had revealed his dark past to Sarah, they were sitting in a cafe when a group of men burst in, shouting and brandishing weapons. Sarah froze in terror as the men approached their table, but Daniel stood up to face them, his face set in a determined expression. Sarah watched in horror as the men surrounded Daniel, but he didn't back down. He fought with all his might, taking down one of the men before being overpowered and dragged away. Sarah was left alone in the cafe, her heart racing and tears streaming down her face. For weeks, Sarah didn't hear anything from Daniel. She tried to call him, but his phone was always off. She went to the police, but they told her that they couldn't help her without more information. Sarah was devastated. She felt like she had lost the love of her life, and she didn't know what to do. But one day, as she was walking home from work, she saw a familiar figure leaning against the lamppost on the corner. It was Daniel. Sarah ran to him, throwing her arms around him and crying tears of joy. "Daniel, where have you been? Are you okay?" Daniel pulled away from her, his face dark and troubled. "Sarah, I have to go. I can't stay here. It's not safe for you." Sarah felt her heart sinking. "What do you mean? What's going on?" Daniel hesitated before answering. "The men who took me, they're part of a larger organization. They won't stop until they get what they want." Sarah felt a sense of dread settling over her. "What do they want?" Daniel looked away, unable to meet her gaze. "They want me to work for them again. They want me to do things that I can't do. I won't do it, Sarah. I can't go back to that life." Sarah felt like her world was crumbling around her. She couldn't bear the thought of losing Daniel again. "What are we going to do?" Daniel took her hand, his expression softening. "I have a plan. But you have to trust me, Sarah. Can you do that?" Sarah nodded, feeling a sense of determination rising within her. "I trust you, Daniel. Whatever it takes." Over the next few days, Daniel and Sarah worked tirelessly to put their plan into action. They gathered information, made connections, and prepared for the showdown that would determine their fate. Finally, the day arrived. Sarah stood by Daniel's side, her heart racing with fear and excitement. The men arrived, and Daniel stood up to face them. But this time, he wasn't alone. Sarah and a group of friends had gathered around him, ready to fight for what was right. They battled fiercely, their determination and love for each other giving them strength. In the end, they emerged victorious. The men were defeated, and Daniel and Sarah were finally free to be together. As they stood on the street, surrounded by their friends and the wreckage of the battle, Sarah looked up at Daniel with tears in her eyes. "I love you, Daniel. I always will." Daniel pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "I love you too, Sarah. Forever and always." As they held each other, Sarah felt like they had overcome the greatest challenge of their lives. They had faced their fears and their pasts, and they had come out stronger on the other side. And with Daniel by her side, Sarah knew that anything was possible. Thank you for listening to this bedtime story, and remember, if you struggle with falling or staying asleep at night, click on the first link in the description for the ultimate solution to your problem. Now, choose one of these two videos and continue on our journey in the world of bedtime stories.